professional here. Good afternoon and welcome to Virginia's Views and Vibes. And I'd like to wish you all a very Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, and Happy New Year. Quick shout out to my co-host with K-Fi, Dr. Dominic Amaro. We wish him a speedy recovery and hope he gets well soon. Today, I think I have probably one of the most highly respected state committee men, the youngest state committee man for the Mass GOP, my friend, Nikki Michelli. Welcome to Virginia's Views and Vibes.
It's great to be here, Ginny.
It is fun. I'm glad you came.
Of course.
So you are the youngest. First of all, you're a student still.
Yep.
At Curry College. And what's your major?
I'm majoring in communications.
Nice.
Because as you can see, I hate talking to people.
That's right. And you're a junior?
Yes, I'm about to go into my spring semester junior year.
Nice, nice. So what got you involved? You're a state committee man, and you're the youngest state committee man. What got you involved in politics? Because when I remember you 2 or 3 years ago, no, it was around 2020, and you were big into politics then.
Yeah, well, first of all, I'm so sick of hearing about how liberal Gen Z is. And I think last month, or about a month and a half now, we proved how untrue that narrative is.
That's right.
From young age, not all teachers, I don't want to generalize all teachers, but many of whom shoved their political beliefs and views onto their students, teaching them woke nonsense. And Gen Z had enough. And to be honest with you, we always were conservative. It was a matter of getting us out to vote. And we never saw a need to. That turnout was not there in 2020. It was not there in the midterms. But something special happened this year.
Yeah.
You have a presidential candidate go on to really reach out to us. You have President Trump go on to Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
You have him get shot in the face, and the first thing he does is scream, "Fight, fight, fight." You have all these awesome T-shirts and songs and remixes about it, and that just really hit home for us. So, but back to your original question.
Yeah.
It was just something that I've always been passionate about it from a young age, particularly Donald Trump in the debate in 2015. I just said, "Dad, I like the guy with the funny hair." My dad said, "Nikki, that guy is never going to be president." And sure enough, he was. He shocked the world then, and he shocked the world a month and a half ago.
Yeah, he did. And you talked about something very quickly, but it was the attempted assassination. And I think, for me, I am a Trump supporter. I worked on the Trump campaign. But I think at that point, when the news anchors reacted to that shooting, it looks like he may have brushed his ear. It looks like it might have been glass that broke. The out-and-out hatred or absolute coldness of how they reported that event initially, which was just so cold. They never called it an assassination attempt. They just didn't refer to it like that. And I think I saw...
Yeah, one of them reported that he allegedly fell. No, he did not fall. Right. He was shot.
Yeah, and I think that coldness opened up a lot of people's eyes.
Absolutely.
And you talk about the Gen Z, and I think that because, and exactly what you said in the schools, in Girl Scouts, in band, in sports, kids that maybe weren't liberal.
No, they're not.
Were afraid to speak out.
Exactly. That's exactly what it was, because they thought they'd be treated differently from whether it be their classmates, whether it be their teachers. People thought that could reflect badly on them. But, you know, when you go into that voting booth nobody knows who you're checking off.
That's right.
And that's what
That's
everyone has to remember. You don't have to be as outspoken as I do, but please, for the love of God, get out there and vote whenever you can. It doesn't take much time, and you can see how it really makes a difference, as we saw. If it weren't
Yeah.
for Gen Z, we'd have Vice President-elect Kamala Harris right now.
That's right. What do you, on the election, it was so much fun. It was a blast. But when Trump won for the second time, or the third, however you look at it, what do you think what everyone finally learned? What is a plus that came out of this, I guess? Not so much with the Republicans, but maybe the Democrats. What do you think? Did they learn anything from fielding Biden again, and then they had to ask him to leave, and then Harris as their candidate? And by the way, she was anointed. There was no trying to convention anybody. She was anointed.
On Super Tuesday, let the record show I received more votes than Kamala Harris did. We received 8,000 votes for state committee. Kamala Harris received 0. So let the record show that. No, good question. We're going to have to see. We're going to see what the Democrats do differently. Right now, it's been totally disarray right now. We see right here in Massachusetts, Democrats go after reliably Democrat Congressman Seth Moulton, simply because he said men should not be participating in women's sports. That's not a right-wing issue. That is a common sense issue. Okay, I should not be able to put on a mini skirt and then run onto a woman's lacrosse field, whatever you might call it.
Right.
It's complete and total nonsense. And let's just look at the Democrat strategies for in that election. Millions and millions and millions of dollars on celebrity endorsements. I'm going to tell you one thing. I don't care who Taylor Swift, Jennifer Lopez, Lady Gaga, and all these other celebrities. I don't care who they vote for. To be quite frank with you, I don't even listen to their music. That's just not how you're going to reach people. It simply is not. Like I said, the Republicans took a much better strategy. I can assure you, many more viewers tuned into Joe Rogan's podcast as opposed to a rally featuring Jennifer Lopez.
Yeah, I agree. I think we've always, as I say children, but my children have become older. You see how they grow. And now this generation, your age and maybe even younger, they want to read everything. They want to see everything. They want to know everything. And they're not stupid. When something doesn't make sense, and you mentioned it, and it's worth talking about because Charlie Baker, NCAA, got up in front of Congress and and talked about why he would not cast a vote to keep men out of women's sports, and he really came across very poorly. I think it was Kennedy, the Senator Kennedy. Has a little bit of
Louisiana.
Excellent.
A little bit.
He said to Charlie Baker, "You need to call Amazon and order a backbone," because he said, it's dangerous. Men shouldn't be in women's sports, but no, we're not doing anything about it. And he just jumped right on him, and I thought that
Senator
was
Kennedy's
so cool. Because that was, when I ran, that was a big issue for me. It is so, and I can't get this into people's heads, it is so insulting to me as a female to think transgender men or transgender women dress up, like you said, in a wig, fake nails, and put on a mini skirt and makeup and say, now I'm a woman. That is not what being a female is about, and we are not that shallow. And to think that they can stand up and say, okay, this is what women are. Now I'm a female because I put on a wig and I think I'm cute now. I think that is the most insulting thing that a man, I'm sorry, that a man can do. And then to have them, you got me on this rage now, this vent about men in women's sports. It's dangerous. It's not safe. It's unfair. They take slots away
well,
from
look,
women.
Jenny, if you, you have a right to be whatever you want to be in this country. You don't have a right to play whatever sport you want. You don't have a right to use whatever bathroom you wish.
Yeah.
Those are what are assigned at birth. Now, if you want me to call you, you know, if you want to call me Nicole instead of Nikki, that's okay. But if I decide to do that, but you know what, I'm not going to go on to. I could promise you this. I'm not going to try out for the Curry College women's hockey team. I will not do that. You know, I'm going to use the proper bathroom.
Right.
I might change my pronouns, but I'm not going to play women's sports.
And I kind of agree with you. I really don't care. I don't care if you're not hurting anyone. I don't care. But to think that that's all it takes and there's not a difference, you're sadly mistaken. But anyway, I can't. That was one of my
Yeah, we're
big
gonna get
issues.
sucked way too deep into that rabbit
I
hole.
know, really. So I guess getting back to the Democrats in a way, now their center is now Fetterman. He's speaking in the center now, and Bernie Sanders to some degree. Do you think more will follow him, or you think the AOCs and the what's the other one that is with AOC all the time?
Oma.
The one that married her, Oma.
The one that married her brother.
I'm going to stop right there. I didn't say that. Nikki did.
I said that.
Do you think that they will have to be pulled more center, and do you think they will go more center?
Yeah, so last week I was in Phoenix for
Oh, right.
America Fest, and I was at the Brad Wyatt, if you're watching. I was taking, so his daughter and I went out to a party, and we went back to the hotel, and I mean, she got up to her room, whatever, and then I'm walking out of there to go to my hotel. My hotel was literally right across the street.
Yeah.
And I see walk in the door, this is 1 o'clock in the morning, Cenk Uygur from the Young Turks. Very, very, very liberal.
Really?
And I went up to him. I said, "You're Cenk." He said, "I sure am. I'm wearing my MAGA hat. I'm wearing probably the same jacket." And we talked, and I said, "You know what, Cenk? I don't agree with any of your policies, but you know what? You're the only Democrat who tells the truth. The American people do not want to go into war in Ukraine.
Right.
The American
Right.
people don't want to go into a war in Israel. What the American people want is peace." And you
Right.
know what the American people on both sides said? Joe Biden is not fit to run for president, and he sure as heck is not fit to even be in the Oval Office right now and run.
Yeah.
And that's the fact of the matter. And he said, "Thank you, I really appreciate it." I said, "You know, Cenk, if they listened to you, perhaps we'd have a different election right now."
Yeah.
He says, "I think you're right." He said, "I think we would have won." I said, "I don't know about that, but
yeah.
you guys would have done a whole lot
better.
better without running that corpse for a year." He ran for president
Yeah.
for one whole
Yeah.
year. It's crazy.
And they wonder why. I'll say this: I don't trust the government. And when
Really?
you when you're supposed to have more faith, and like you said, this man that is not, he's not even close to being with it, is standing behind a mic saying foolish things, and they're saying, "Isn't he quick? Isn't he sharp?" He's sharpest in the morning. He's sharpest, right after this press. You should see him in the Oval Office. It's a crock. You know it, and they're banking on this lie. And another thing that was so insulting, we're all over Facebook. I'm the biggest one, really. And when you see people saying, my father was in a facility geared towards Alzheimer's, and they were better than Joe Biden. You know that there's something wrong and that they're lying, and that it wasn't just that; it was a lot of other things. But he just did the debate, I guess, in June.
That should anger every single
Yeah.
American.
Yeah.
That should anger every single American.
I agree.
And if it weren't for Elon Musk purchasing X
Yeah.
and a slim number of media outlets that told the truth about it, you know, so CNN, MSNBC, ABC, they all lied about President Biden's cognitive decline,
Oh,
as well
absolutely.
as his entire administration. The 25th Amendment absolutely should have been invoked. Because
Explain
it's
that. Explain the 25th.
So the 25th
Some people
Amendment.
may not know.
Sure. So the cabinet can remove a president from office if they pose an immediate threat to the country or they are impaired from doing the duties of commander-in-chief. And it is clear that as a result of President Biden's age, that he could not serve effectively as commander-in-chief, which poses a horrific threat to our nation's national security. And, you know, people say, oh, how relieved are you that Donald Trump is president-elect? Not relieved at all. I will be relieved on January 20th because these next 3 weeks are going to be tough. And these last 4 weeks have been tough. He's letting criminals out of jail. He pardoned his own son. He fell asleep in Angola.
Yeah.
It's horrific. If you are the leader of another country, could you seriously have any respect for the United States?
No.
Look, President Obama may have had differences with him, but he could conduct himself in a way that was effective. He was mentally there. He was doing the job. In this case, we don't. Who has been our president for the last 4 years? And also just came out. Forget the source. We'll have to check that out later.
Yeah.
But 40% of President Biden's presidency was on vacation.
I heard that. Yes.
If any job, if you took 40% of the days off, you would be fired.
Yeah.
There is not a single employer that would hire somebody that shows up to work 60% of the time. That is absolutely outrageous.
You're gone. You're gone.
Could you imagine if a teacher missed 40% of the days of school?
Oh, my God. No.
It's outrageous.
No. I don't know if you heard this, but last night, President Biden did say that Jimmy Carter last year asked him to do his eulogy. I can't even imagine. I actually, we were sitting watching him, and I said to George, did he really just say that? They aren't going to let him do that. I can't even imagine.
President Biden didn't ask President Carter to read his eulogy.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Yeah.
I can't say that on here.
Well, he's still here, and we appreciate that. But I can't even looking back at like 4 years when he first announced, when he first came and he started a campaign, the difference between that and that debate and just watching him all the time. There's a show, Jesse Kelly. I don't know if you ever listen to him, but he does the every time Biden made a mistake, he'd just play it over and over again. But he had like 10 a night every time the guy spoke. It's funny, but it's also, to me, it rings of abuse.
Well, we
Senior
started
abuse.
off talking about young people.
Yeah.
Is that supposed to appeal to a young person?
Yeah, no. You don't get any trust.
I don't think so. And yeah, I get it. President Trump is not young, but his vice president is. But Vice President Vance is 40 years old. I had a very nice conversation with him in New Hampshire. He told me that that my age was my greatest strength, not my greatest weakness, because he warned me that people would try to use that against me. And he said the exact same thing happened to him when he ran for the U.S. Senate seat in Ohio. They said, JD, you're too young, wait a little bit. But he jumped into that race anyways. Yeah. He won. It was one of the most watched races in the country. And in 3 weeks, we will watch Senator Vance be sworn in as the youngest vice president in American history. Yeah. And that's going to be such a proud moment for young conservatives everywhere like myself.
I agree. How old is he?
He's 40 years old.
40 years old. That's
and,
like that.
And that's what I'm looking forward to. That just as much as seeing President Trump put his hand on that Bible, because just to think that's someone, a blue-collar kid who had
blue-collar.
Lower than that.
Oh, yeah.
Who had a mother who suffered from addiction, was raised by his grandmother.
Yeah.
He overcame so much. By the way, read his book. His book is incredible.
Yeah, I have it, yeah.
And
He's
to see
got a
that,
great
is
story.
that not the American success
It is.
story?
Absolutely.
So-
It is.
That's going to be a proud moment for a lot of Americans when he's sworn in as vice
think
president.
so.
Like I said, it's just as exciting as seeing President Trump get sworn in.
I think so too. And actually, that book is also a movie. So, but read the
Terrific
book
movie,
or
too.
see the movie.
Read the book, then read
Yeah,
the movie.
then see the
See, that
movie.
my
Yeah.
English teachers will be happy with me about that.
They will. But yeah, I like him too. And he talked about a hard life and no excuses. No excuses with him. He knew what he had to do. He did it. He didn't want to stay where he was. And he didn't take pity on himself. And I think we all can learn from
And
that.
get this, we were talking about Democrat messaging. The
Yeah.
Democrats called him weird.
Yeah. I know.
How horrible.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's not weird.
No, it's not
That's what
weird.
you want your... tell me, would you rather your son be like J.D. Vance or Hunter Biden?
Well, I have two sons who I'm very, very proud of, by the way. And yes, you know what? They would be, or they are the same way. They respect women. They went out and they got an education, graduated from college. All my kids did. But there were times in high school where one of them, not either one, could have said, you know what, I'm done. I just don't want to do this anymore. But they didn't do that. They kept at it, and they are very successful. I'm very proud of them. But you're right. When you sit there and wallow,
Good
you just
parenting.
go down. Well, thank you. They're good kids. But you know what? It really is true. He pulled himself up. I mean, what an example. What an example to everyone. I'm
It's
I'm
an
happy to-
inspiration to us
Yeah.
all, I think.
Yeah.
Whether you come from a wealthier background or a poorer background, it's an inspiration.
Let's only, cause I'm trying to think how much time we have left, but I want to hit this subject because when you say that we're going to close the borders, people go berserk. We are going to close the borders but does that mean we're anti-immigrant? Absolutely not.
I don't think so either.
Absolutely not. We do want them vetted, yes, but we want immigrants here. We want them to come here, become citizens, go to work, raise a family. We invite them to come legally.
I want them to love this country just as
Yep.
much as I do, but
Yep.
we must have due process. We are a nation of laws first and
Yep.
foremost.
Yeah.
That's all I have to say about that issue. It's a common sense issue. And by the way, there were a time where the Democratic Party was not in favor of illegal
Right.
immigration. We could
Bill
play
Clinton.
Bill Clinton
Yep.
deported more
think Joe Biden.
illegal immigrants than any other president in history. There was a time where this united both parties, but
Yeah.
now the Democrats see a voting bloc there. But that's not going to
Absolutely.
work.
Absolutely.
We're going to have laws, and we're going to continue to welcome immigrants into this country as long as they do it legally.
Legally. And you know, it's funny because people say, I can't believe you're conservative and you want people to come here. Yes, I do, because we need them. In 1950, the average family was 4 or 5 children. 1970, I think, maybe 2 to 3. And as the years go up, the number goes down. 80, 3 kids. 2001, 2 kids. And now I think it's like 1.6. I don't know how they get the 0.6, but 1 child. We are not replenishing the workforce. We need them to come legally.
Yeah. Well, first of all, overpopulation is a myth. The United States is not overpopulated.
Right.
That's a myth. It's not true. We need to encourage people to have families. And in fact, when I was at Turning Point, that was the number one thing they
Really?
most hit. Okay, get a good job, get married, have kids. It's simple. That's what that's what we need to encourage young men and young women to do, regardless of race or anything like that. That's
Yep.
what we need to do. Overpopulation is a myth, but like you said,
It is.
it's in many ways it's harder to raise a family. Say my grandmother and all my aunts and uncles, they grew up in a household of 5
Yeah.
with a single mother, and they were able to make it happen. And we need to bring back that American dream again.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think they have daycare, childcare credits, and I honestly would like to see moms or dads that decide to take off a couple of years to stay home with their babies, I think I'd like to see that looked at and explored, because there's nothing better than staying with mom, dad, or nanny. There's nothing better than that.
Well, the 1.6 number of the average children is definitely
Yeah.
alarming. But what I think is
Yeah.
even more alarming is that the average age of first-time homeowners has risen to 40.
Yes.
That is the biggest concern. Mom and Dad, I love you, but I don't want to live in your house for the next 19 years.
Right. I think
If you're watching, Mom and Dad.
yeah, they'll watch. I think when we bought our first house, and that's how I know your dad, by the way. My Patrick was 2, so we had to be 25 years old. We bought our first house, and I think we paid, and God, Mike will correct me, I think we paid $35,000 for that house on Oak Street. We
See,
didn't
that's
stay
how much
long.
people are going to pay for a car today.
Yeah, I know, and consider that high. We weren't there long. We stayed 10 months and came back to Newton, where we raised
Should've
the rest
stayed.
of our family. Yep, you're a Nana.
Sorry, a little bit of Natick bias.
But yeah, we moved back to Newton. We could be close to my parents and my in-laws, and so it was a lot of fun. My kids had. But again, it goes back to that core, that family. Your grandmother's right there. Your grandfather, aunts. My kids had the best. My parents were a mile away, but that's the babysitter. And I think my daughter, honestly, she's got, you've met Lucas,
Yep.
2 kids, and I think they've had a babysitter maybe once or twice.
Yeah.
And other than them, the kids we babysit them. And I hope they look into something like that for the moms that stay home and the dads, to give them 2 years home with their baby, because nothing beats the care you get from the mom and dad and nannies. But anyway.
That's probably my most liberal position, too, is I support paid
Yeah.
leave.
Yeah.
A lot of people in
Yep.
the party don't support that. I
Yeah.
100% wholeheartedly do. If we're going to call ourselves pro-life, we have to support paid family leave. And
Yeah.
I 100% support that.
I agree. I was going to ask you about this, that how much do you think, because we only have a few minutes, the soccer moms, you always hear about soccer moms and they don't like Trump or whatever, but how much do you think the soccer moms and the young families, their vote with the craziness of what they're teaching kids now? And I specifically DEI,
Yeah.
specifically that in drag queens in the classroom.
Yeah, well, you want to save your community about $150,000? Fire the
Yeah.
head of DEI.
Yeah.
We don't need it. It's not necessary. They don't really bring a lot to the town. They don't really bring that much diversity. I think diversity is a good thing. Fact of
Yeah.
the matter is they don't do that. So
Yeah.
if you want to save a lot of money, fire your DEI director, take control of your select board, your school board, get
Yeah.
him out of there. It's
Absolutely.
ridiculous. But no, you're right about soccer moms, and that's the thing. They don't want regular people to get involved in politics. And this year, the Democrats learned how much they can get away with. And
yeah.
they realized they went too far. And that's why you got people like myself, people like moms and dads,
Yeah.
middle class families to get out and vote. And you know what? If 2024 wasn't a mandate, I don't know what is.
I know. Look at it and learn from it, or maybe not. But for the women and the in sports too, all of that just came piling down, and they said, "You're breaking us. We're broke. We're done with this. This is not the way life should be." And hopefully, it'll be a happy 2025. New president, new vice president, and no place to go but up. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you in 2 weeks. Happy New Year. Bye-bye.